Hi, I'm Rebecca Bradley. This is the Virtual Crime Book Club. It is Monday, the 13th of October, 2025, and we are discussing The Maidens by Alex Michaelides. This conversation will contain full spoilers, so if you are watching this back on video, be aware you may want to finish the book, read the book, whatever first. It will have full spoilers. Um, so. Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming. What did we think of The Maidens? Did we like it?
I liked it.
Hmm.
Right, Lynn, do you want to start us off then? Because there's a lot of this going on. What did you like about it? Oh, no, you're muted, I think.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I've read The Silent Patient, which was his first book, and I actually prefer this to The Silent Patient. I wasn't overwhelmed with that one. And it was more varied. There were lots of different possibilities. It was a better location. The Silent Patient was, more or less in one place. Here it was in Cambridge and a little bit in London. I mean, it was quite unrealistic in many ways, but yeah, I just quite enjoyed all the different characters and possibilities.
Yeah, yeah. Um,
Still worse than your mother.
I don't know how long ago The Silent Patient was, but I read that and remember enjoying it. So I was a bit anxious about going into this because when a book has been such a big hit, you don't know whether you're going to
Mm,
enjoy the next book. So
yeah.
there were a lot of people on the fence about this. Did it have good and bad, or you just don't know?
I think when I started reading it, I enjoyed it much more than the one we read before last time. I thought it had more depth, um, but I was a bit disappointed by the ending,
Mm.
which I thought was a bit quick. That Zoe's character showed something so evil in the end, which didn't come out before. And I thought, if you are married to someone, and she was always talking how good their marriage was, and it was a long time they had been married. Uh, I don't know if a man can disguise his feelings so well that she wouldn't find out. So I thought that was a bit strange. And I thought, why this idea, this motive to kill all the other girls in order to hit on her? I thought that didn't make much sense to me. But up to that part, I quite enjoyed it, and I thought, who was behind this, and is it really that professor, or what is the solution? And I was a bit disappointed by this strange arrangement in the end.
So you enjoyed the story and the lead up, but the ending you felt let it down for you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sort
yeah.
of. Mm.
Is that the same way for everybody, or were there more things you liked?
I actually started off not really, as in just finding it a bit slow. And actually, this is the first time that I did an audiobook. I've never actually done that for a novel before. Um, and as it picked up, I enjoyed it more and more. Special call out. I liked that one character was from Singapore. I'm from Singapore, even though she did die.
Yeah.
I like that. And I kind of agree. I think the ending it was unsavory in a sense that it partly just didn't make sense and it was just very stark. But on one hand, I will give the author credits that I had absolutely no idea and completely didn't guess it. So in terms of an element of surprise, it most definitely was there. And I will also say that I feel everything was tied up. So in the epilogue at the end, I thought it was quite nice to provide Like, I don't really like it when a book ends without any further context of exactly what happens next. So it was quite nice to describe that. Okay, Zoe was in the facility and so on and so forth. So mixed.
So you like not just having the crime solved, but knowing what happens to the people afterwards, because they are people, aren't they, when you're reading about them?
Like, especially when you get pretty vested in the characters. It's just nice to know, like, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was a really good connection to the brief, with a novel to be set within academia, and it very much was so, with connections to Greek references and God, I forgot the name of the poet, but anyway, and
Tennyson.
thank you very much, Clark. Yeah, Tennyson, and all the interaction with the lady cleaners and that kind of thing, which I found really interesting. So I actually really enjoyed it as a book. It's flawed. I'm not going to argue with that, but I did really enjoy it as a read.
Yeah. The Greek thing, there was a lot of narrative around Persephone and the Greek story there. Did you find it blended with the actual current day story? Did that work for you? How
Um,
well does anybody know the Persephone story? I just had to look it up before, as I was writing the questions for this.
I knew there's
I,
probably some connection, but I didn't bother to Google while I was reading it. So
I just thought
Yeah,
it was trying very hard. I just thought it was trying very hard to be very clever and not being all that successful at it. After all, it's set in Cambridge, so you've got to have some Greek in there and some dead poets.
yeah. The Persephone was actually called the Maiden, and she was kidnapped by another Greek god um, to marry him, and then she was allowed back. And apparently, it was Persephone that made the seasons because she had to go into the underworld in the that made winter, autumn and winter, and then when she was returned to her family, in that made spring and summer, because her family were in agriculture, so everything grew again when she returned. So it was to do with her being kidnapped from her family. I have got it, but I don't want to.
I think
Persephone, abducted by Hades, god of the underworld, who tricked her into eating a pomegranate, binding her to the underworld for part of the year. So basically, yeah, that's basically what I said. Um, did that marry up to, do you think it was because there's a lot of Greek legends,
I
did that
thought
one blend well
the
with this?
the connection was with being sacrificed. I think the girls, the maidens in the story in Cambridge, they were sort of sacrificed for this aim um, to get at what was her name again? Mariana. And in the Greek story, they were sacrificed as well, weren't they?
The Maidens, yeah. But I thought they didn't really feel to me as maidens because they were so up to date nowadays girls. I couldn't imagine them being Greek at all from the antiquities, obviously. It didn't work for me.
Did the title of the book influence the way that you thought about how things were progressing? Did
I,
it,
I, I
because
thought the title was a bit weird. After all, the Maiden doesn't
Yeah,
appear like 150 pages in almost. I mean, it's quite strange.
Yeah, I
And
didn't really make a connection.
and as you said, they're
no,
not very maidenly. One of them's
no.
in a relationship with the porter, which I thought was a bit weird as well. If you're an American, senator's daughter, it seems a bit strange to have a relationship with, not wishing to be disparaging about Cambridge porters or anything, but it seems a strange choice.
I'm
I
not sure you
thought
could have called that a
I thought
relationship.
yeah,
Well,
no,
that as well, yes.
I thought that the what's it called, Fosca had made it to that or manipulated it to do that because the Porter was blackmailing him, wasn't he? Because he
Maybe.
knew he was having affairs. I mean, I didn't really take much notice of the Maidens, to be quite honest. What I took notice of, and I did guess who it was in the end, because in the testimonials it kept saying, "You'll never believe the ending, it's a big shock." So I thought, well, which character is most unlikely to be? It's Zoe. So yeah, it wasn't, you know, when they say it's a big twist, I just spent the whole novel thinking, who is it?
I think I had an inkling that it had to do with Zoe, but not that she would kill. I thought she was somehow helping someone or something. When we kept having these things about her not revealing that she was one of the maidens, for example, to her auntie, or there was something else as well that she didn't say, and I had an inkling. Why do they keep going on about that? So Zoe must have had something to do with the murders, but I didn't think of the whole thing was just her.
Yeah, I feel the thing that really threw me off was the Sebastian.
Yeah.
Someone else that there was just no hint of that. I didn't find any hint of that throughout the book.
No.
I mean,
No.
you don't know 100% that happened. You know, she could be making that up as well.
Well, there was his letter. That's the thing
Did
that
we
was.
actually see that letter?
Wasn't it typed though?
Was it typed?
I think it
I
was
thought it was from a
typed.
diary. Like parts of the diary were
It's a
included.
diary.
But it's
Yeah.
still her words, is it not?
I
It
quite
was
like.
him writing to her.
But she'd have recognised his handwriting the minute she opened it, wouldn't she? And she didn't.
I
But
was
that's
very
another
surprised.
thing I was
Yeah.
thinking a bit weird.
That's
Well, I
that's why I
presumed
thought it was typed.
Yes, me too. Because she didn't recognise his writing. She just went by what was said in the letter.
But she
I
didn't
quite
actually say if it was typed or not.
Right.
I quite like the Sebastian twist at the end, and I think, but all throughout the book, I kept wondering, why does she keep seeing Sebastian? Why does she keep bringing him up? And of course, the author needed to do that to kind of do that twist at the end. I kept trying to work out why is Sebastian keep getting trotted out here? Well, it's because of the ending, really, I think.
So
Yeah.
so the dead man did it.
Yeah, the dead man is the evil genius. Yes.
Well,
And the maidens, as mentioned earlier, were there just as a sacrifice.
yeah.
I thought that I was suspicious of whenever somebody dies, especially when they're washed out to sea, et cetera, et cetera. It's kind of a convenient. But then the author went out of their way to say his body was found, it was identified, and you know, everything else. And I just never felt comfortable with it. There were so many characters, and none of them not really developed. And even Zoe, who was so close to Mariana, and then there's Fred, and it's
Fred.
and I just wondered. I have some good friends that are psychotherapists, and that Mariana was deceived not only by her husband, but by Zoe. And what's interesting is Zoe, when the affair started, was only 15.
Yeah.
So it went on at least,
10 years.
Well, not 10 years, because I think Zoe is in her early 20s at the story. But that it was that Mariana never had an inkling. And then throwing in the Henry story, her group, it was like,
yeah,
it's sort of like more evidence that Mariana maybe should find a different profession.
Yes.
I felt quite sorry for Henry as a character. You know, he gets built up, and then he appears with a knife in the dead of night, and within a couple of paragraphs, he's been sectioned and completely disappeared. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah. Poor thing. Yeah.
So how did we feel about Marianne's capabilities as a psychologist? Not just with the people that she's closest to, but she was there to, in her mind, to find out what's happened to stabilize her knees. But everybody she met
I,
Do
I
She
thought it was strange that she didn't talk much more to Zoe in the beginning, to find out more what had happened, and then this thing was strange when she went to the Maidens, and she wasn't able to get a grip on that group.
mm,
I thought she wasn't very successful in what she was doing.
but she's not a psychologist, she's just a therapist.
Mm.
And
Oh,
there's
well,
only so much
psychotherapist.
they can do. Yeah.
Sorry, Ellen, what was that?
She is a psychotherapist. I
Oh.
don't know if there's a distinction between, and I don't know, and maybe some other people here from the States would back me up, but psychotherapy is a more in-depth relationship than a just psychologist.
A therapist. I think, yeah.
I think it did mention that she studied psychology.
Yeah, she did somehow.
Well, she did study it, and was practicing because she had her group therapy, and Ruth was her, I don't know the correct term for it, her mentor, because when you become a psychotherapist, you have to go through psychotherapy yourself, or if you go through analysis, you have to have your analysis. And I thought that was really telling by the author, in that when he talked about that connection, Marianne really rejected what her therapist was saying to her. So Ruth, she said she would get angry and she would walk out of there, and et cetera, et cetera. And that Ruth seemed to have a better grip, that Sebastian was at the root, and but then she said her father too, which I wasn't sure about that. So I don't know, but it did make me wonder about, and the author had worked for a couple of years, I think, as a therapist.
Yes, I think that's why The Silent Patient was set in that kind of setting. And talking about The Silent Patient, has everybody read it?
Yes.
No.
Those that have read it, did you notice Theo?
Yes, I really like that. Yeah.
Theo Faber, the psychologist that ended up taking care of Zoe, was the main character in The Silent Patient. So that was a little, what are they called? Where they
Cameo.
Easter egg, isn't it? Where they put something out of one film or story into another.
From another story.
Oh yes.
I've not heard of that phrase before, but I liked it. And so it means, although this book was written after The Silent Patient, it's set before The Silent Patient, because Mariana gives him the job ad to go to the place where in the Silent Patient on the train, because he's saying he's a bit fed up in his job, and she gives him the job ad, and that's when he applies for the job in The Silent Patient. And then
I didn't remember that.
Yeah,
I picked up on him, but not on the fact that she'd given him the ad for the job.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's called Easter eggs. I think Marvel movies do it a lot. And that's where I know it from, because I tend to watch all of them that come out. What are your thought processes on the Maidens themselves as young women at uni at Cambridge University? For me, you've got to be pretty intelligent to go there. Is it an age thing that means that they can be put under the spell of a charismatic male in a position of power? Were they realistic?
I think somebody would have put their foot down about the way they seem to have had their meetings with what's it called, when they had to go through a ritual to be a maiden, This is very much sorry, some of your American universities, we don't have that kind of things in Britain, do we?
No.
What kind of thing? Rituals?
Rituals to get into different groups.
I think, well, you
Like an
do for the what's the men's one here? It's not a university thing, but it is where they have to roll one leg up and
The Masons.
Masons.
You should know that, being a police officer.
I did know it. I knew where the Masonic Lodge was where I used to work. But yeah, so there are certain organizations and places where ritual is really
Yeah.
significant. And I think in
Well,
a place like Cambridge, with a lot of seeped in a lot of history, you might find that they do go in for that kind of thing here.
but I was thinking in academic settings, uniquely, not elsewhere.
Yeah.
We don't have this in Britain, do we?
I don't think we do.
Muriel
My son's
means. You mean that in the American sororities when
Yeah,
they go
that
through
kind of
extreme
things.
tests, don't they?
Yes,
And
yeah,
some of them are a bit dangerous as well.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
there's a term for it. I can't remember what it's called.
Fraternities?
yes.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
to enter fraternities
Yeah.
and sororities or whatever. Yeah.
I think it might have just been like a Cambridge thing. They might be more seeped in that kind of intrigue and class it as a tradition and what have you. It may be, I don't know. It wasn't really explained how it had started, did it? Was that
No,
something else
it's
I skipped?
somebody was saying it's a teacher or a tutor at uni had started the thing, and whatever his name was, the English tutor decided to take it upon himself to then have it for his group of maidens.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, none of the maidens were really defined as characters.
No, they all looked the same and they felt the same.
Yeah. We were some of them we were told a bit about, but so during the group therapy, all these young women turned up. Who are they? No idea.
Yeah.
I think, Rebecca, to answer your question about whether age perhaps was a factor, I think so. I think at that age, people are more perceptible. Not to mention, I think we can't diminish the power of exactly what you said, like a male figure who is so authoritative and kind of grooms these girls, essentially. And I mean, when you hear stories or things about things like Me Too and stuff, like it can get really extensive. So I felt that I wasn't really surprised that no one, kind of called it out. Like I thought that was very possible given how manipulative the professor was.
There was as well, I thought too, that surely it wouldn't have gone unnoticed, mostly if it was like a not really hidden secret that there's something going on with that group.
Yeah. I think I was going to say Clark said something. Oh, with whether they felt believable as falling under his spell so quickly, it might be that we didn't know them well enough to understand how this had happened, because I think they, even though the book was called The Maidens, were the least fleshed out people within the book. So we didn't really understand the dynamics of how that worked, really. So it was
and actually having them as victims, because we didn't know who they were, the victims could have been anyone.
Yeah.
It didn't need to be the maidens. It was just a framing of Mariana. That's all, trying to frame Mariana.
Yeah.
But could have been anyone.
Well, I suppose Zoe chose them because they were already there to be killed.
But I think that they were victims. Oh, sorry, please continue.
No, that's all right. That's all I had to say.
I think they were also victims. I see them victims in the sense of being groomed by the professor and how they were manipulated. So I kind of saw them as a little bit victims in that way, and also thinking that, I mean, at least two of them were they were like study abroad students, right?
Mm,
They were away from their homes, away from their
mm.
families. I wonder if that was kind of the prey for the professor to find it even more easy to groom these girls. I don't know.
Well, I thought that there was one particular feature, I think, of those girls, is they all belong to really rich or influential families. And in that way, I don't know, they maybe that's why they got together and felt like a group, because they were very similar. And as you said, they were all almost all from abroad. So they kind of grouped together with a common feeling, I suppose, of being different from the rest of the uni. I don't know.
So a little bit like outsiders.
Yeah, and
But the
and the teacher, the tutor took advantage of that. Their feeling of feeling a bit vulnerable on their own, and he groomed them really. Yeah.
Yeah, but the implication was that Sebastian had come up with this plan. You know, that Sebastian knew everything that was going on, and it was his plan that he presumably was going to murder those girls. But I don't know how he would. How did he sort of? I suppose he heard it from Zoe about it or whatever.
He must have. Yeah.
Did he know about the whole dynamics that he was going to exploit?
Yes, it was a stretch, wasn't it?
Somebody mentioned earlier there were a lot of characters. This was a whodunit. They were looking for who was killing. Did you have lots of did you think about and have lots of thoughts as the story was unfolding about how spit it out, who it could be?
I was hoping it wouldn't be Fred. He's the only character I liked.
Do you think he was set up to be the red herring?
Yeah, I think so.
There was that other minor red herring, that Greek boy. He was a set designer and he was throwing stuff around. I mean, I thought that was a bit pointless, to be quite honest. But yeah. But I think he did throw a few references in there, because Professor Fosca is Count Fosco in The Woman in White, and he manipulates, and that character. So I thought he was too obvious to be it. So for me, it was Fred or Zoe, and a plump for Zoe.
There was also
I never entirely bought the whole Fred thing, and telling somebody that he loves her within 5 minutes of sitting opposite them on a train. I live about an hour from Cambridge, and if I sat on a train and told a woman sitting opposite me that I loved her, I'd be on the receiving end of a right hook, and I never just entirely bought that.
He did it in a charming
You're right,
way.
that was really strange.
He did it in a charming way.
The way that I was leaning was Julian, the psychologist that was helping the police.
Yeah.
That's where I put my money.
I thought it might be, yeah.
Because it has to be somebody that's been mentioned, but is quite insignificant, or they think you're not going to look at. So I put my money on Julian, and clearly
I thought it was Sebastian back from the dead, so I kind of got it half right.
It was. Did anybody else have any? Did you keep changing your mind when you met new characters?
Yeah.
I thought it was very well set up in that there was a whole host of characters, and it could have been anybody. So what were your thoughts when Zoe suddenly switched from Zoe the frightened niece to Zoe the serial killer?
It felt surreal at first, and mostly that she she somehow had this delusion that Sebastian was still leading her and pulling her hands to do all the murders, and I felt it was a bit too what's the word? A bit like one of those gothic novels from the 19th century, really, where people believe in ghosts and do all sorts of funny things.
Yeah. Were you, when you found out who it was, were you satisfied that the story had come to its conclusion?
I don't know.
Some head shaking. No.
Okay, but Sebastian to me, like I said, was a bit bizarre, that connection.
As somebody said, I didn't feel that Sebastian could have been behind all this, but because he was portrayed by his wife as such a lovely, loving person, she couldn't have been that blind to everything. Surely. It was weird.
Yeah, because a 15-year-old really, I would imagine, cannot hide every feeling she's having when that was happening. So we go on to the epilogue, and what's his name? Theo is constantly getting in touch with Marianne to try and help Zoe. How do we feel about Marianne's reaction and anger towards Zoe? Do you think she's right to feel the way she does? Bearing in mind the things that we've discussed about Zoe so far.
How did she react to Zoe? Did she?
She refused to see her or speak to her
Right.
and what have you until the last paragraph or so. But was Zoe a victim as well? Even though she turned into a serial killer?
Well, she was.
That's how they portrayed it at the end, though,
Yeah.
wasn't it? That she was a victim as well. She'd been conditioned by
By
this older
Sebastian,
man, and she was a child when this happened.
Yeah, if what she said was true, then yes, she is a victim. But so you've only got her word for it. I mean, I don't remember definitely, being told in the book that the diary or whatever was written by Sebastian. So
no, that's not clear, is it, that her story is correct?
Yeah.
No, because the diary is just naming Zoe, but not Sebastian.
Well, but the diary, and what bothered me about the diary when the author first introduces it, did you all know who it was for? I thought it could be for Fred or for one of the other characters. And then I was thinking, no, of course it's Sebastian. But in that diary, because I was trying to go back and think about the dates and the history of which character didn't have a mother, et cetera. And we didn't know a lot about Fred's background. So I thought, well, maybe it was Fred. But the diary, this was a person who was really abused as a child. The combination of abuse that he suffered was incredible. And again, but what's interesting to me, and then supposedly is a psychopathic murderer or has intentions to be one, is that Mariana, I don't know if I'm pronouncing her name correctly, didn't pick up on any of that from her relationship. And she met him. They met when they were 19, and then he died when about age 34. So all of that, and did he really kill her father? And that was interesting because the only evidence we have, or from the author, is that Zoe is saying that he did it. And wow, I mean, that's pretty incredible.
Well, considering she's a psychotherapist, as you said, how come she didn't pick up anything? And the worst thing is he actually hated her. He wanted her dead so that he could be with Zoe. So surely somebody feeling like that doesn't, I mean, there must be a hint somewhere.
Well, Ellen's made a good point that they met when she was 19, or they were 19. So Zoe didn't come into the scene for years later. So their relationship was based on those two people
Loving each other.
being who
Yeah.
they were.
Mm.
Mm.
So the fact that he says he hates her and he wants to kill her, he met her naturally, not just to get to know Zoe.
No.
Um,
Yeah.
I felt like Zoe ended up being an obstacle in the end. I think it started out, I mean, Zoe said it was for the money. Mariana made it clear it wasn't for the money. That was a bit confusing. But with the diary entries in between, because I listened to the audiobook, I actually was a bit confused that it was a diary entry or what was going on, and I didn't quite catch who it was. I wasn't fully able to follow. Were you
It
guys
didn't
able to tell
say.
that?
It didn't say until the last entry where Zoe's
Yeah.
name is mentioned.
But from the
And that's
details
it.
of the story of the childhood, were there enough details for us to know that it was
No,
Sebastian? Because I was
no.
a bit confused. For a moment, I thought it was Henry. For a moment, I was.
Yeah.
I
It
think
could have been any of them. It was the
all of the
idea, I think.
characters, yeah, all of the characters had difficult childhoods because I was trying to work out from the descriptions of the characters, and they all had very difficult childhoods, I think, deliberately. So we didn't know.
Mm.
But I thought that she had already described Sebastian's childhood. And so that's actually why I thought it wasn't him.
No,
They-
she described him from the moment they met. She actually didn't know anything about him. She never said anything about him before when they met.
I thought like he was an orphan or something.
I think there may have been a hint of that. Yeah.
I think because when they met, she talked about he was poor and the parents were out of the picture. I can't remember. I thought about going back. I can't remember if both parents were out of the picture or just his mother. But and it was all very vague.
Yeah, I remembered something.
And if you weren't paying attention when you were reading, if your mind wandered, you might not have noticed.
And that's the problem with audiobooks, because I tend to do the book club read on audio, is you can't flick back and check something out.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, but even with the hard book, I wouldn't know where to look, because it's so well hidden within all those chapters, and you can't remember where everybody was described.
I do like the ebook for that reason, because you can do like a quick search for keywords throughout the book.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, this book was a book where if truly when I was reading it, if my mind started thinking about what I needed to do the next day or something, I found myself having to go back and reread, because then she introduces Conrad Ellis, the person who's arrested originally for the murder. And then that's another one. He kind of drops in and fades away. And then there was what they like to say is a lack of situational awareness in that about the drug use and who was doing the drugs and who he was supplying, and did Zoe do drugs and didn't and she kept on going to classes. I was kind of surprised that that Zoe didn't take some time off. I mean, that I if a close friend died, I think back of my own childhood, and you just kind of weep, and she really didn't.
I like the policeman. I quite like the policeman. I thought it was absolutely, because he just thought Mariana was obsessed about Edward Fosca being guilty, and he was absolutely right. And he was actually very nice to Mariana in the end, giving her a cup of tea and whatnot. But I mean, Mariana, on one hand, she was absolutely convinced it was Edward Fosca, and yet she goes and has a meal with him in his room without telling anybody, and has several drinks, which is
yes, a lot of suspense
that was
of
strange.
disbelief.
Yeah, you're right about the policeman though, because he's like, you're not part of the investigation, and there's no evidence to back up anything that you're saying, which turned out to be true because it hadn't been him, even though he was later arrested for other things.
It was very weird how easily Mariana kept stumbling into crime scenes and having chit chats with the what's the chap who does the cuts up the body? I've forgotten.
Pathologist.
The pathologist. Yes,
pathologist.
she manages to stumble
James.
into a meeting with the pathologist, where the pathologist just quite happily gives her all this detail about the case. She was remarkably good at finding clues that the police hadn't managed to find either, just lying around.
And she was allowed to go into that tent with the dead body, without being suited up or anything. That's what I mean. I enjoyed it, but it's completely unrealistic.
Yes.
Yes, you don't want to look at the police inside of it. She'd have been nowhere near being able to see the people with their faces and their eyes and what have you. She wouldn't have got anywhere near it. But yeah, you have to suspend your disbelief, don't you? Poor old Fred. He was mentioned earlier. But the way that he managed to save the situation and stumble into getting stabbed himself. What do we think about that? Because he was following her again.
Another
like a puppy
stalker.
Yes. Do we know what happened to him other than he survived? Did she have a friendship with him?
Yeah, and she said she was not close to it developing to something more.
It's the next book.
I'd definitely be closed.
Fred the sidekick. It's the next book.
Yes.
I thought he was the sidekick.
He'll probably change his mind next time he gets on a train.
But he was so much younger, so I thought it was a bit strange. He
Well, it
must
was
be
only about
20
4 or
and
5
she must
years.
be early 30s.
Yeah,
He
it
was
was
29.
Came out of
He
nowhere.
was 29. He was 29. She was 34. It's not
He
much.
rounded up to 29.
Yeah,
Was
he
he
did.
29, really?
Yeah.
Because I thought he had just started his studies and I thought he was much younger.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, he's doing his PhD.
PhD.
So
Okay.
he rounded up, and she said, "I'm old enough not to need to round up."
But I agree that that was another misdirection by the author, because when we first meet Fred on the train, the impression we're given is that he's like 19.
Yes.
He's very, very young.
Yes.
And then later on, oh, he's 29. So I wonder if the author were here, I wonder what his thinking was in writing this. Did he just sort of did he plan it from the beginning, or did he just, have this young kid on the train and maybe thought he would be good and then decided later on, no, he'll be a possible romantic interest, whatever. But I couldn't get a handle on what the author thought.
I think
From the authors in the group, it's interesting. I'd be interested in their reflections on what they thought was going on.
I think he was having fun at throwing in as many red herrings as possible.
And there were a lot of people to consider. Yeah. I would have asked him today, but with waiting for grandchild
The
arrival.
baby.
Yes. So, does anybody have anything else they want to say about the Maidens?
I have a question. Do you think that it was a coincidence that the first lecture that Mariana sat in, the professor mentioned the details or the same Greek area that her husband Sebastian had died, and then she wasn't sure whether it was a coincidence or whether he was kind of at her. What do you think?
The she
Another red herring, maybe.
Well, and
Not
this
intentional?
Intentionally put in as a red herring.
Oh, no, sorry. I meant intentional that the professor knew about her husband. Like,
He would be very easy to research, I imagine.
yeah, so he like perhaps knew, and then like was it that or was it a coincidence?
well, the same thing with Fred, because when Fred is talking to Mariana and suggests that she there's this beautiful place in Greece, and it just happens to be sort of like, okay, and so now I'm suspicious of Fred.
I mean, I've got a question about the silent patient, because anybody who's read it, can they remember the character of Zoe in it? Because it definitely does follow from this book. So I know that there's the main character who he was counselling, and then there was another woman in there who was very angry. I can't remember if that was Zoe. I think I'll have to Google.
No, I just knew that the place that they were at was the Theo
unit. Mariana said in this book that Theo made her feel a bit uncomfortable, and then those who've read the book, The First Silent Patient, know why that is now.
She might be in there, yeah. But they definitely are. It does definitely make a link between the two books. But no, it was a long time ago when I read it, and I've read a few books since.
Well, I only read it, I think, last year, and I couldn't remember the ending, so I had to Google, even though I only read it last year.
Yeah, no, I can't either.
No, when you read a lot of books, it's difficult to retain all the endings.
So, will anybody go on to read any more books by this author?
No.
If it's required for the book club.
Unless it's required reading. I'm not sure anybody will vote for it though if it gets nominated. Going by today. So did you I've asked the question, I'm tired at the beginning. Did you enjoy it? It was a bit hit and miss then this month. There were sections. You enjoyed it, Clark.
I found it weirdly unengaging. I found it quite easy to read. Maybe it was unengaging because there were so many characters in it and they weren't terribly well fleshed out. I quite enjoyed the ending, especially the dead evil mastermind. It was easy to read. I mean, actually, weirdly, I thought I read it quite quickly, and yet not very much happened. I think there was an awful lot. Like the Maidens only turning up 150 pages, and I had some weird kind of timing, pacing things about it as well, I thought. But yeah, I mean, it was okay. I mean, I thought it was a bit sort of. I mean, this isn't meant to sound rude. I thought it was a bit sort of painting by numbers almost, at times.
Yeah. I didn't like Mariana from the start. She was I know she lost her husband and she was very sad, but the way she was going on about it was just I didn't know if I was going to finish the book then.
Actually, sorry, I thought the most interesting, exciting bit about it was the revelation about Alfred Lord Tennyson's gay love life, actually.
Yes. Oh, yeah, that was
the most interesting bit.
A bit of a tangent there.
Yeah.
But I looking at his portrait, I didn't see what she saw in the portrait at all.
Oh, you've looked it
the
up?
romantic, the romantic face and no.
And I'm not sure if it's true about him being gay either, because I googled that after, and there's no real foundation that he had a gay relationship with that other guy.
No, that wasn't something. It just kind of, it was there, but I didn't really understand why it was there.
No, another red herring.
Yes. Yeah. So, right, thank you very much. Have we covered everything?
Well, I really enjoyed the book. I found the descriptions of Cambridge and very atmospheric, so I enjoyed that part of the book a lot. I thought his descriptions were very good.
Yeah.
Mm.
I'd not asked about somebody brought it up that this book was to be set in an academic setting. Was it set enough in academia? Because there was a lot going on outside, but did you feel that it fit?
Yeah.
It did.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I
Yeah.
thought it described Cambridge quite well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was set in Cambridge. The characters were the professors and students, and the victims were, and she's from Cambridge.
Yeah.
So absolutely hit the nail on the head, I thought.
Yeah, and the descriptions of the dining rooms and the rooms that they live in, and there was
Cambridge.
the older lady lecturer as well, wasn't there? Senior, whatever, professor. Yeah.
I felt it gave a really good impression of being in an academic setting.
Yeah. Yeah. Good. Right. Okay, we'll stop this. Never find anything. Stop recording.